Thank you, Dr. Lee, for your rich and lively lecture. It is really amazing, given our time constraint, you managed to give such a concise and cogent account of theological contextuality, addressing three related topics, namely its definition, its basis, and the dangers it faces. For each topic, you highlight the conflicting crisis therein and offer your paradoxical intervention. The theological foundation of the work is firmly rooted in the reformed soul of covenantal theology, and its horizon is wide enough to cover important insights from different disciplines, such as trauma theology, cultural anthropology, critique of modernity, and post-colonial studies. Above all, I am especially impressed by your pastoral heart, your love towards the Asian American fellows, and your deep concern about the wholeness of their life before God. All this can be clearly seen throughout your paper. This is an example of integration at its finest. Thank you so much for giving us a perfect demonstration of it. When I was asked by Bernard to respond to this lecture, I felt a bit out of place. Because my understanding of North America basically comes from books, newspapers, and some Hollywood movies. Except several times of brief visits. I have no first-hand acquaintance with the context of American life. So I would be more than happy to be an earnest audience down there, rather than being, a respondent up here. But as I read Dr. Lee's appropriation of Luther's theology of the cross, it reminds me that although all theology is contextual, all serious theological exploration is at the same time Catholic. If a contemporary Asian American theologian can find the thought of a medieval German theologian as a call to conversion of his white American education and Asian cultural heritage, this communion of the saints may, perhaps, also extend a theological invitation to our own context. I'm particularly clicked by Dr. Lee's first part, that is the topic of defining a context. So I read through his book, Doing Asian American Theology, and tried to learn more about how to define the context of Asian American theology. Dr. Lee told us how he strove for a paradoxical intervention that can, on the one hand, do justice to the collective cultural, historical, structural aspects of a context, and on the other hand, leave enough room for the dynamics, diversity, change, internal tension within that context. This is particularly, interests me. His strenuous effort is crystallized in his AAQ, i.e., Asian American Quadrilateral. According to Dr. Lee, this AAQ is not meant to be a rigid theological program, but a heuristic tool for mapping diverse identities and experiences, providing us with a grammar or vocabularies. Right? He used the word vocabularies in the lecture, and I like the word grammar more, after all, which is flexible enough to accommodate diversity and yet concrete enough to discern what the gospel means for identifiable elements. In the case of Asian Americans, Dr. Lee points out 4 elements or 4 dimensions. They are Asian heritage, migration experience, American culture, and racialization. This immediately poses a challenging question to me. what identifiable elements can or should be included when we turn to our own theological contextuality in our territory today? This is, of course, a very big question. Any serious answer to this question calls for much effort of studies, and I'm not in the slightest pretending to have any ready answers to offer here. So what follows is only my very tentative reflection kicked off by the insights of this lecture. With some necessary adaptations, the 4 elements or dimensions of AAQ may shed light on the direction for our future exploration. First of all, it is quite obvious that Asian heritage contributes a large part in our case as well. However, with the unique colonial parts of this territory, as well as its long history of being an outpost between East and West, it may be meaningful to pay some attention to the colonial and post-colonial impacts on this Asian heritage. For example, at which point of the colonial history has the family or a certain group of people settled in, pre-war or post-war, before or after 1949, before or after Cultural Revolution, etc. How is the history of escaping political turmoil affecting the church's appropriation or reinterpretation of the revivalist, pietist, and even Confucian tradition that are widely held by the local churches? To what extent have the churches assimilated to the hybridity of the society at large? What are the pros and cons of this assimilation? All these can subtly affect our understanding of the Christian faith and practices in our territory. Secondly, corresponding to the migration experience, Hong Kong society is now going through a rapid political and social changes. Although there is no geographical dislocation, Hong Kong society experiences a sense of estrangement nowadays. Many organizations in the civil society have disappeared in the last few years. Some annual public activities that have been held for decades came to a sudden end. Many familiar faces disappeared owing to immigration or some other reasons. It is said that we are going through an era of loss, which is quite comparable to the loss in the migration experience. This unhomely experience definitely constitutes a large part of our theological context. Thirdly, corresponding to Dr. Lee's American culture, our counterpart should be the mainland culture. As the central government is accelerating the speed of integrating Hong Kong into the Greater Bay Area, this will greatly intensify cultural encounter between Hong Kong and the mainland, leading to the cultural meanings to be renegotiated, contested, and transformed. What does it affect the self-understanding of Hong Kong people by living under the commandeering of this grand development plan? This would be an important question for Christian community here, who is called to be covenantal partners with our neighbor in this territory. Fourthly, corresponding to the last element of racialization, I would say we are facing its reverse engineering, namely nationalization. It is widely acknowledged that the awareness of national identity of Hong Kong people used to be quite ambivalent. In the post-national security law era, the education of national security and national identity is raised to the top of the list. We can almost be sure that a new generation of Hong Kong people will come into existence pretty soon. Besides all these four elements, I would like to raise one more element, and that is also my question to Dr. Lee. That is the ongoing interaction between the home community and the diasporic communities. In the Jewish history, we know that this interaction was very intriguing and important to the development of both Judaism and Christianity in the first century. I'm sure the Asian Americans should have much experience in these aspects to be shared. I would appreciate it if Dr. Lee can share with us some of their experience in the forthcoming Q&A session. Finally, thank you again, Dr. Lee, for giving us lots of food for thought. And this is a very challenging topic, and I learned quite a lot. Thank you.